There's lots of different types of diffuser jewelry out there right now, but did you ever stop to think, is one any better than the other? I hadn't, but it came up recently, so I put it to the test. So the different types we have are lockets that have something absorbent like a felt pad or leather inside, also lava beads, as well as terracotta or bisque-fired clay. So those are the four main groups of absorbance pads that I tested. And my theory was that the note of the essential oil would make the most difference. So top notes evaporate quickly, middle notes hang on a little bit longer, and base notes can actually stick around for days. So my thought was that the base notes would retain their scent longer than the top notes, which is true. But actually the pads did make a difference. So let's take a look at some of the results. Here's the results of my first test, which was a single drop on each of these different pads. And you can see that felt had the least scent after 1 hour and had none after 24 hours. Clay actually performed the best of the top notes. For the middle notes, felt did better, and they were the top performing one both at 24 hours and at 48 hours, as well as for the base note at 24 hours. They also retained their scent into the 48-hour mark for the base note. You can see that leather did okay for starters, but tended to trickle off over time. The one thing I noticed with leather is once the scent started to fade, you could smell the leather smell along with it. So here's my second test, which was 3 drops on each one. Leather actually started out performing the best with the top note, but then kind of faded off a little bit. Felt was good, and lava was not too bad after 24 hours. The middle note, they all started to fade fairly quickly, but lava and clay faded more. And for the base note, at 24 hours, we see that felt was the best and leather was the least. So then I thought, what about blends? I've noticed that some of my jewelry retains a scent sometimes for weeks after I've used it. So I tried testing with a blend and found that at 1 hour, everything was performing really well. At 24 hours, everything was starting to lose its scent, but lava was the worst. Also clay was the worst. And then after 48 hours, felt and leather were still okay, and lava and clay had the least scent. So the other interesting thing that came up was absorbency. So I'm going to have this little video clip play of me putting the drops on here. And I want you to notice how they sit on top. So felt sinks in pretty quickly. Lava kind of sits on the surface for a little bit. And clay sort of sits on the surface, rolls around, and then soaks in after a few seconds. Leather, it's like it's sucking it right up. So I enlisted a helper with a stopwatch and actually timed this. And felt and leather indeed sucked in right away. Clay, it was about 4.5 seconds, and lava, we let it sit for about 7 minutes before we stopped timing, and it was still a little bit glistening and wet, especially in the pores of the lava bead. And then shortly after this test, I actually received a lava bead necklace for a gift, and so knowing this, I put some drops of oil on it before getting into the shower. It sat for a good 30 minutes before I put it on, and I immediately noticed that I was getting oil on my skin, so I took it off right away. So lava actually came out the worst, both in terms of absorbency and retaining scent, and if you're wearing it right next to your skin, it actually might be a little bit dangerous in terms of, maybe causing sensitization over time if you repeatedly wear the same oils next to your skin, because you are going to get a little bit of residue on your skin. Felt plaid actually came out the winner. Both felt and leather held on to the scent pretty well, but once the scent started to fade on leather, then you could smell the leather mingled in with it. Felt had a nice clean smell, it absorbed right away, and it's super easy to change scents because you just switch out the pad. So the winner of our testing is actually felt pads.